Equity finance is always the better option, especially if it is smart money. If the investors do not understand your business, there's only one motivation. That's their exit plan.
We want to talk about navigating funding and investment for tech startups. And I know we've covered part of this already with respect to finding smart money, which I thought was absolutely fantastic. Got to have smart money. But are there any other pieces, any other sort of nuggets we can drop for the audience with respect to different vectors of raising capital?
Yeah. Look, there's always the part where you got to decide whether you're going to do equity funding or debt finance, or equity finance and debt finance. In my humble opinion, I think that debt finance in startups is extremely dangerous unless it is convertible, which means that the debt that you're taking can be converted into either stocks or shares or ownership or equity. Equity finance is always the better option, especially if it is smart money. This brings the value to your business model. If it is not smart money, it's better to take your time before just accepting it. Choose your investors carefully. It's really, really, really important. If the investors do not understand your business, there's only one motivation. That's their exit plan. And I would also say, when you talk about a pitch that you need to make, or, a pitch deck itself, this is kind of like really interesting when you're pitching to investors. We kind of like have a little bit of a standing joke. We usually say two South Africans and a Slovak walk into whatever it is. It sounds like Three Stooges walk into a bar. But what I can say is when you look at pitch decks and when you look at presenting to an investor, the important part about a pitch deck is the pitch deck's not going to get you the money. The pitch deck's not there to get the money. The pitch deck's there to open the door or the invite for you to explain it. And, the most important components of a pitch deck is to define your challenge or problem. Then describe the detailed solution. Really go into depth of how you solve that. And I don't like to call it a problem. I'd like to call it a challenge, because it's merely a challenge. It's not a problem. Problem is something much worse. So rather focus on the way that you're doing your wording and talk about challenges and talk about how you can better the current state of it and get like really into it. The other most important thing that an investor is going to look at is the ask. So be very clear on what you're going to spend the money on. Don't just give out a ballpark figure. Go and sit down and do proper calculations. Really take the cost of the timing that it's going to take you, the amount of people it's going to be. Also include your marketing and these types of things, but don't overestimate and don't try and build in fat, because it will catch you at a later stage, because you'll sell off your equity too much in the beginning stages, which you will regret at a later stage. Try and finance or be creative in the ways that you're doing. Use freebies. Freebies meaning go look at open source projects, go look at alternative ways of doing marketing, find new creative solutions of doing these types of things rather than spending exorbitant budgets on it, because throwing budgets at marketing can eat up the entire budget, and then you won't have enough budget to actually build it of what you want to build. And this is the important part, that you need to make sure that your ask is combed through with a fine comb, and that you can exactly pinpoint the exact amounts and how you calculated it according to that. Because at the end, that's actually what's going to define whether you're responsible or not for them to actually put the investment in. So this is the most important thing is make sure your pitch deck is good enough to get you the invitation for the meeting, because the right investor will invest in you, not in your pitch deck. That's the most important thing.